Would you buy an R-vee if you knew the brand was already dying? Every quarter, more of America's most familiar R-vee names quietly fade from dealerships. No announcements, no accountability, just abandoned owners stuck with rigs nobody will service and warranties nobody will honor. Which 5 R-vee giants are one step away from extinction? How did icons of reliability collapse this fast? And most importantly, what if you're sitting on one right now without even knowing it? Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see how close we all are to being stranded. Coleman, Dutchman recreational vehicles. When you walk into a campground anywhere in America, chances are you will see the Coleman name printed in bold letters on the side of an entry-level travel trailer. The Coleman brand carries a nostalgic ring for many people who grew up with Coleman lanterns, coolers, or camping gear. It feels familiar, it feels approachable, and for decades it symbolized the affordable gateway into outdoor adventure. But behind that famous nameplate, the story of Coleman travel trailers under Dutchman recreational vehicles has become complicated. And today the future of this once mighty camping icon hangs by a fragile thread. Coleman began as a household name long before it ever appeared on the side of a towable recreational vehicle. The company's lanterns lit up Boy Scout jamborees and family fishing trips as far back as the early 1900s. That long legacy of practicality made the brand an attractive badge for Dutchman recreational vehicles, which itself operated under the massive Thor Industries corporate umbrella. By licensing the Coleman name, Dutchman could stamp an instantly recognizable identity onto lightweight travel trailers that appealed to budget-minded buyers. For first-timers looking to join the recreational vehicle lifestyle without spending an arm and a leg, the Coleman trailer looked like the obvious choice. But here is the hard truth. Affordability does not always equal dependability. Over the past several model cycles, owners have raised red flags about everything from leaky roofs and flimsy cabinetry to poor insulation that fails in both the scorching heat of summer and the bitter cold of winter. Some report trim falling off after only a single season of towing, while others complain of electrical gremlins and plumbing issues that no family vacation should have to deal with. Even though Dutchman markets Coleman as the gateway to freedom, too many buyers have felt chained down by repair bills. Coleman's struggle reflects the challenge of living off a famous name without consistent reinvention. While the brand still sparks nostalgia for lanterns and coolers, today's recreational vehicle buyers demand durability and technology. Without those, even the most recognizable label risks fading fast. Competition in the budget recreational vehicle space has only made matters worse. Brands like Forest River's Cherokee and Jayco's J-Flight continue to fight aggressively for the same wallet-conscious audience. With so many options on dealer lots, the Coleman trailers have struggled to stand out beyond their famous name. The market no longer rewards recognition alone. Customers demand durability, comfort, and a sense that the manufacturer will stand behind its product for the long haul. Unfortunately, Dutchman has prioritized other Thor subsidiaries, leaving Coleman a neglected stepchild. There is still a passionate community of Coleman trailer owners who defend their rigs, pointing to years of reliable service and countless memories made on the road. For them, the name still shines brightly, like the old lanterns that started it all. Yet the overall sales trajectory tells a different story. Each quarter that passes without major reinvestment or innovation brings Coleman closer to the edge of irrelevance. When a brand relies more on nostalgia than on engineering, its days may be numbered. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about the truth behind these fading R-vee brands. Subscribe to our channel and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might just confirm or even challenge what thousands of owners are already noticing. Starcraft recreational vehicles. Step back for a moment and picture the golden age of American camping, when families loaded up their station wagons and headed toward the nearest state park. In those days, one brand seemed to pop up at every turn, its logo proudly displayed on pop-up campers and lightweight trailers. Starcraft recreational vehicles. For many decades, Starcraft stood as a symbol of attainable outdoor freedom. Parents who had once camped in canvas tents found themselves trading up to a Starcraft pop-up, and in doing so, they helped propel the company into one of the most recognized names in the entire recreational vehicle industry. But time has not been entirely kind to this once dominant player, and today Starcraft balances on a delicate line between nostalgia and obsolescence. The origins of Starcraft stretch back to the 1900s, when the company initially built farm equipment and boats before pivoting toward campers in the mid-20th century. By the 1960s and 1970s, Starcraft had become a household brand across rural America, especially known for durable folding campers that seemed perfectly designed for young families. These rigs were affordable, light enough for modest cars to tow, and simple to set up. Generations of children grew up sleeping under Starcraft roofs while learning to fish, roast marshmallows, and embrace the call of the outdoors. For that reason alone, the brand carries an emotional pull that newer competitors cannot easily replicate. Ownership changes, however, began to reshape the company's destiny. Starcraft was eventually absorbed into Jayco, itself one of the largest names in the towable trailer segment. Later, Jayco fell under the vast Thor Industries umbrella, the same corporate giant that holds dozens of recreational vehicle labels. Within such a massive conglomerate, Starcraft's once unique identity began to blur. Instead of being the star of the show, it became a supporting act, competing for attention and resources with sibling brands that commanded larger dealer networks and stronger marketing campaigns. On the consumer side, Starcraft continues to release travel trailers and fifth wheels, but the lineup often feels like a mirror image of Jayco offerings, only wearing a different badge. That duplication makes it difficult to justify the brand's separate existence. Dealers themselves sometimes admit that they push Jayco models harder, leaving Starcraft units sitting idle on the lot. For a buyer, that translates into limited choice, weaker after-sale support, and uncertainty about the brand's future. Yet loyalists remain vocal. Some longtime owners insist their Starcraft rigs have stood the test of time, with fewer leaks and sturdier frames compared to competing budget trailers. These advocates argue that the company still offers tremendous value for families entering the camping lifestyle. Their stories keep the embers glowing, but embers alone cannot power a company through an increasingly competitive market. Without bold innovation or renewed investment, Starcraft risks becoming a footnote rather than a leader. And so, as we leave behind the story of Starcraft, one cannot help but wonder, if a brand that once embodied family camping traditions can slip toward the shadows, what hope is left for the luxury names that once ruled the highways? Monaco Coach. Few names in the luxury recreational vehicle world once carried as much weight as Monaco Coach. When travelers rolled into high-end campgrounds during the late 1990s and early 2000 era, the sight of a gleaming Monaco diesel pusher was a clear signal of success and sophistication. These motorhomes were more than transportation. They were rolling palaces with tile floors, plush furnishings, and power plants capable of conquering mountain passes with ease. Owners proudly declared that owning a Monaco placed them in an exclusive club, one built on craftsmanship and prestige. Yet, despite this glorious past, Monaco Coach today feels less like a thriving icon and more like a fading echo, struggling to hold on to relevance. The company's history is a long and winding road that mirrors the boom and bust cycles of the wider recreational vehicle industry. Founded in the mid-20th century, Monaco slowly climbed the ladder of reputation by delivering coaches that blended innovation with comfort. By the late 1980s, the brand was recognized as a premium choice for serious motorhome enthusiasts. The following decade saw even greater expansion as Monaco acquired other respected names and grew into one of the largest producers of Class A diesel motorhomes in North America. By the time the calendar rolled over to the year 2000, Monaco Coach was at its zenith, employing thousands and selling luxury rigs across the continent. Then came the financial collapse of 2008. The global downturn devastated recreational vehicle manufacturers, and Monaco, heavily reliant on financing and high-dollar sales, was hit especially hard. Within months, the proud empire crumbled into bankruptcy. The remnants were eventually scooped up by Navistar and later by the R-vee Group, a conglomerate that also owns brands like Holiday Rambler and Fleetwood. While the Monaco name survived, the essence of what once defined it did not. Production scaled down, the lineup narrowed, and loyal customers noticed the change in quality and support. Today, Monaco Coach exists largely as a badge rather than a driving force. While a handful of models occasionally appear in promotional materials, the brand no longer commands the same presence at shows or in dealerships. Many owners complain about difficulties sourcing parts or finding technicians trained specifically on Monaco systems. The once proud sense of exclusivity has been replaced by uncertainty, and even nostalgia struggles to fill the gap left by corporate restructuring. Monaco Coach likewise fostered a devoted following that treated ownership as a badge of pride. Enthusiasts formed clubs, attended rallies, and swapped maintenance secrets, creating a culture of camaraderie. For these travelers, Monaco was never just transportation, it was community and shared adventure. Still, memories linger. Ask veteran travelers about their Monaco rigs from the early 2000 years, and you will hear stories of cross-country adventures in unmatched comfort, of families living on the road without compromise, of machines that felt built to last forever. That emotional connection is powerful, but markets respond to sales and innovation, not memories. Without a bold revival plan, Monaco Coach may soon fade into the same historical footnotes that swallow so many once great brands. And with Monaco's prestige slipping away, our attention naturally turns to another legendary name whose reputation was built on innovation, but now teeters on the edge of obscurity. We've still got two of the biggest names left, but before we reveal them, make sure you hit subscribe. You don't want to miss future breakdowns on the brands and rigs you depend on, because knowing the truth early could save your wallet and your adventures tomorrow. Holiday Rambler. The very mention of Holiday Rambler once brought to mind gleaming aluminum walls, cutting-edge construction, and the promise of enduring quality that could handle mile after mile of American highway. Founded back in the year 1953, this company quickly distinguished itself from the competition by becoming one of the earliest pioneers of aluminum frame design in recreational vehicles. At a time when wooden structures dominated the marketplace, Holiday Rambler delivered something revolutionary: lighter weight, stronger durability, and superior resistance to the elements. This innovation positioned the brand as not just another player in the recreational vehicle scene, but as a true leader that shaped the industry's future. Families who bought a Holiday Rambler in those early decades often found themselves still traveling in the very same coach many years later, a testament to both durability and engineering vision. As the decades rolled into the 1960s and 1970s, Holiday Rambler continued to expand its lineup and reputation. The company introduced motorhomes that boasted luxury touches unheard of at the time: advanced electrical systems, residential-style amenities, and upgraded comfort features that brought the feel of a home on wheels. Owners proudly showcased their Holiday Rambler rigs at campgrounds from California to Maine, confident that their investment symbolized not only adventure but also status. By the 1980s and 1990s, the brand had firmly cemented itself as one of the giants of the Class A motorhome world, competing directly with Monaco, Fleetwood, and Winnebago. For many families, purchasing a Holiday Rambler was not just a financial decision, but a rite of passage into the ranks of serious recreational vehicle enthusiasts. However, the new millennium brought turbulence. Corporate buyouts and shifting ownership began to erode the independence that once defined Holiday Rambler. First came acquisition by Harley-Davidson, a bold but brief experiment. Then came a series of sales that eventually placed the brand under the same corporate umbrella as Monaco Coach, and later inside the larger R-vee group portfolio. While these consolidations kept the name alive, they also diluted its individuality. Models began sharing more parts and layouts with sibling brands, and the clear line that once separated Holiday Rambler innovation from others slowly faded into blurred familiarity. Loyal customers began to question whether they were purchasing a true Holiday Rambler or simply a rebranded version of another motorhome. Holiday Rambler also earned a reputation for inspiring loyalty across generations. Many families who purchased their first Holiday Rambler in the 1960s later watched their children and grandchildren continue the tradition. This multi-generational bond created a culture where the brand became more than a vehicle. It became a legacy. In the modern marketplace, the challenges have only grown steeper. Holiday Rambler still produces a limited set of models, yet their visibility in dealer lots is a shadow of what it once was. Competing against aggressive newcomers and the powerhouse divisions of Thor Industries and Forest River, the brand feels like an aging veteran overlooked in favor of younger stars. Owners from the golden era remain fiercely loyal, praising the enduring build of their older rigs, but newer buyers often pass the brand by without a second glance. Nostalgia alone cannot secure future success. And so, as Holiday Rambler inches closer toward obscurity, the question remains: if such a pioneer in aluminum and durability can falter, what hope remains for even larger names that once dominated every corner of the highway? Fleetwood recreational vehicles. Across the long highways of America, few names have echoed as loudly as Fleetwood recreational vehicles. For generations, this company represented the dream of mobility and freedom. From small travel trailers to massive Class A diesel pushers, Fleetwood once commanded a staggering share of the recreational vehicle market. At its peak during the late 1980s and early 1990s, industry reports suggested that nearly 1 out of every 4 motorhomes sold in the United States carried the Fleetwood badge. Such dominance did not come by accident. It came from a relentless push to offer models for every budget, every taste, and every type of traveler. Families on their first cross-country adventure and retirees embarking on full-time living both found a Fleetwood coach that promised to meet their needs. The company's story began in 1950, when John Crean founded a small trailer business in California. By 1953, the Fleetwood name had been adopted, symbolizing quality and expansion. Through the 1960s and 1970s, Fleetwood became a household brand, earning the trust of Americans who wanted to hit the open road. Their Bounder model, introduced in 1986, became an icon of affordable motorhome living. Its clever floor plans and durable build made it one of the most recognized rigs in the entire industry. Other names like the Pace Arrow and Southwind carried reputations of reliability that endured for decades. At shows, rallies, and dealerships across the country, Fleetwood stood tall as a market leader. But glory often attracts risk. By the early 2000 decade, expansion, corporate restructuring, and mounting competition placed enormous pressure on the brand. Rising material costs combined with a global financial downturn in 2008 created the perfect storm. Fleetwood Enterprises, once a powerhouse employing thousands, was forced to declare bankruptcy. Factories closed, workers lost jobs, and the proud Fleetwood name seemed destined to vanish altogether. For many longtime owners, it felt like watching a trusted friend collapse under the weight of forces beyond its control. Fleetwood's story serves as both a warning and a lesson. Market power can vanish almost overnight when innovation slows and competition accelerates. For loyal owners, the hope remains that one decisive revival could restore the glory once carried proudly across America. The brand did not disappear entirely, however. The assets were purchased and eventually absorbed into the R-vee Group, the same corporation that also manages Monaco Coach and Holiday Rambler. Under this new umbrella, Fleetwood continues to release motorhomes, but the scale and dominance of old are gone. Production numbers are far smaller than they were in the company's prime, and market presence has dwindled significantly. Enthusiasts note that while current Fleetwood coaches still carry the name, they often lack the groundbreaking spirit that once set the brand apart. Instead of leading innovation, Fleetwood now struggles to keep pace in a market flooded with aggressive competitors offering advanced technology, better warranties, and fresher designs. Yet memories remain powerful. Owners of older Fleetwood rigs still gather at rallies, proudly showing off coaches that have carried them across tens of thousands of miles. The nostalgia is strong, but sentiment alone cannot secure survival. Unless bold reinvestment and vision return, Fleetwood recreational vehicles risks becoming not the king of the road, but a relic of its history.